Midnight Drearies.
It was a day like any other when the sky began to flicker with strange lights. At first, people thought it was just a storm, but as the lights grew brighter, they realized that something was happening. The news channels went wild, speculating about what could be causing the lights. Some people thought it was an invasion, while others believed it was a natural phenomenon. But no one could have guessed what was really happening. As the chaos grew, a ship emerged from out of the black void. It was unlike anything anyone had ever seen before, a massive, gleaming silver vessel that seemed to shimmer in the light. The ship hovered over the city for a few moments, and then it began to descend. People ran for cover, not knowing what was going to happen. But as the ship touched down, they realized that they had nothing to fear. At least, not yet. The ship opened, and a group of aliens emerged. They were humanoid in shape, with long, spindly limbs and bulbous heads. They were ugly, but seemed friendly. They spoke in a language that no one could understand, but somehow they managed to communicate with the humans. They said that they had come from a far-off planet, and that they were seeking a new home. They asked if they could stay on Earth, and in exchange, they would share their technology and knowledge with us. At first, people were hesitant and didn't know if they could trust these newcomers. But as the days went on, the aliens proved themselves to be helpful and kind by solving some of the world's most pressing problems, like climate change and poverty. They shared their technology with us, helping us to advance our civilization in ways that we had never thought possible. For a time, everything was perfect. But then something strange began to happen. The aliens, who had once been so friendly and helpful, began to change. They became cold and distant, and they started to act like assholes. At first, people thought that it was just a misunderstanding. Maybe it was a mix-up in our customs, or maybe they were having trouble adapting to life on Earth. But as time went on, it became clear that something was seriously wrong. The aliens began to take on jobs in middle management, and they quickly became the worst bosses anyone had ever had. They were condescending, rude, and abusive, constantly belittling their employees and demanding more and more from them. They were never satisfied, no matter how hard people worked, and they always seemed to be looking for ways to make things more difficult. People started to dread going to work, even more so than when they had human bosses at shitty jobs, knowing that they would have to deal with the aliens' constant demands and impossible expectations. The aliens seemed to take pleasure in making people's lives miserable, and they didn't seem to care about the consequences of their actions. As time went on, the aliens began to spread their influence. They started to infiltrate governments and corporations, using their knowledge and power to manipulate people and gain more control. They were like a virus, infecting everything they touched and spreading their toxic influence throughout the world. People tried to resist, but it was no use. The aliens were too powerful, and they seemed to have no weaknesses. In the end, there was nothing anyone could do. The aliens had taken over, and there was no escaping their influence. They had promised to be our saviors, but instead, they had become our worst nightmare. The thought was terrifying, but it was also a reminder that we were not alone. And maybe, just maybe, someday we would find a way to fight back against the aliens and reclaim our world from their grasp. But for now, we could only wait and hope that someday, somehow, things would get better